Some possum. I was drinking this disgusting energy drink. Hope everyone out there is doing good. Thought you guys would like the view. So just the darkness, the abyss. You can see this. This is kind of what I wanted. I want something you guys can look at. I've been trying different things. Obviously, none of them work. That's why it's a black screen every time. But this is it. I've been trying for years with tons of equipment. It just never works. So it's just, we're doing this simple as shit. Because if I don't just do this simple, it's just never going to get the fuck out, you know? Sometimes you just gotta rip it, quit it. Rip it, hit it. Rip it, tip it. Tip it, rip it. Sounds good? Ugh. What the fuck's going on with you guys? This energy drink sucks. You can probably tell by my demeanor. I'm not pumped up as I should be. Talk about something exciting here. You guys ever got shit faced with a bunch of fucking Filipinos and Chamorros and Hawaiians and bet on a bunch of cockfights? Well, I have. And you want to hear about it? Sure. Yeah, this is cockfighting. Now, I know that there's going to be a bunch of people, liberals mostly, that are going to say, oh my God, Rob, you went and participated in cockfights. Yes. Yes, I did. Went, bet on them, helped train them. I didn't just go and bet on them. I fucking learned how to train the things. I helped train fighting roosters. And I know a lot of you go, I can't believe you did that. The thing we eat all the time that has the feelings and shit. And here's what I have to say to you. Everyone that has a problem with me going to do that. I haven't done it in fucking years, so I'm talking about freely here. And I'm going to defend it. Here's what I say. A lot of people, hippies especially, academics, people that go to college, mostly, in my experience, always rant and rave about open-mindedness. They always say you need to be open-minded and you need to, experience other people's cultures and respect other people's cultures. But most of these people do not have any respect for the other cultures and they don't learn about other cultures. When they say learn about other cultures, what they mean is, yeah, walk around wearing, Thai yoga pants and, cross your arms and bow to them, kind of in a mocking way. But, as soon as their culture bumps into your culture and you're supposed to open up your mind and maybe accept a different way of thinking than the way you were raised, then they shut the fuck down. That's when a guy like me is open minded to actually listen to other cultures and experience other cultures and not just say, well, where I'm from, we do it this way and blah, blah, blah. So a lot of these people that claim to be open minded aren't that fucking open minded, in fact. But a good guy like me, I'm very open minded. So, how do you fight roosters? How do you get into it? Well, rooster fighting is still around in America. I had guys that grew up down the road from me in Tennessee that did it. Literally less than quarter mile from my house, half mile. I went and saw a cockfight. They didn't put the blades on it. I went by this guy's house to buy a chicken just for like a prank. A buddy of mine had bought one, threw it in a locker in his high school. And I was like, oh, that'd be funny. I should get a chicken, do that. I asked him where he bought it. He told me down the road. I went by there and I said, hey, can I buy a chicken? This is in Tennessee where I'm like in high school. I'm like 16, 17 years old. And these guys are like, what? I was like, I just want a chicken. And they were like, well, you just want to buy a live chicken? So they're looking at me kind of funny. These are two-ass white, grown-ass, hillbillies. I don't want to say hillbillies. These are gentlemen, man. And they were like, are you a cop? Or, and I'm like, no, man, I just want to buy chicken. So they were like, well, what do you want, like a fighting chicken? And we're like, no, just a chicken. And then my friend I was with was like, no, but we wouldn't mind a demonstration. Like, kidding. So the guy showed us. They didn't put the razors on them, but they took two regular roosters and showed us. And then they took two trained ones and showed us. They just put them together, let them hit each other. I was like, okay. And then they showed us two trained ones. And the trained ones, it's like watching a boxer versus a guy that isn't a boxer. It was just like, poof, 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 poof. I was like, holy shit. And I thought they were pecking. I thought that sound I was hearing, the beaks, was them pecking each other. I learned years later that's not what it was. It's them kicking. So when I came out here, to Big Island, there's people that still, practice this. It's been a part of the culture, part of the culture in the Philippines. Guam, they have arenas where it's legal. So I decided to be open-minded and see what was going on with this. And I had a friend that introduced me to some people that did this. And I known them for a while. So, when I told them I was kind of interested, they were kind of interested in, they were cool with it because they knew, they could, trust me. So, it's kind of hard to go to cockfights if you're not raising them. They really don't like people there just to like observe. Usually, if you're there, it's because you literally have roosters are fighting in it. And the way they fight them is they have tournaments. They have tournaments that last, like, you go through maybe 12 roosters. Some of the fights, I just went to small ones. But there'll be guys, they have these giant tournaments in different islands out here in the Pacific. And these tournaments can be up for like $100,000 if you win it, $1,000,000. Like I'm not even shitting you. Like $100,000, like insane amounts of money. And these can be like 3-day tournaments. And you might bring like 24 roosters. You can mail roosters through the mail. There's big tournaments going on because when you go in the post office, you'll hear all these roosters in the back of the post office, like 5 feet. You can see them. They'll be in these little wooden crates. There's like 30 of them in there. People from the mainland will come over here and like, oh my God, what are these fucking roosters? Blah, blah. But anyone that, what's up, hey, there's a big fucking tournament going on somewhere. Going on Oahu or, Pompeii or, whatever fucking islands. Maui. So, it's big, big money. And, to fight, I'm not really going in any order. I'm just going to tell you everything I know about this and what I've experienced. Those big tournaments and stuff, usually when you fight them, so a rooster, they naturally have that back little spur, but what they'll do is add a big razor to it. And a rooster, most of them are left-footed, right-handed. There's roosters are left and right-footed. Most of them are left-footed. If it's not left-footed, you're going to train it to make it left-footed. I think they would just hold the right leg back so that it would kick more with the left. But you want it to be left-footed. because when a rooster kicks, it doesn't go straight. It kind of crosses to the left and right. It'd be, imagine if you were punching someone with your right hand, but somehow you're hitting like their right their yes their right eye instead of hitting their left eye. You're not hitting the eyeball in front of them. You'd be hitting the one to the side of it. It makes sense. Right hand, right eye, left hand. You'd be going over the bridge of their nose with these punches. That's how a rooster kicks. It doesn't go straight, it crosses. And you want it to be left footed because it will hit them in the heart more and kill them. So these tournaments, they have like 3-4 inch blades on them. And they are razor goddamn sharp. These fucking blades. They the rooster. When they fight them, because these roosters just go at it. It doesn't. You don't have to be like, oh hi, they just fucking go at it, bro. And it's there's blood, and when they're kicking those blades, they just cut the feathers in half and just, whew. And they go for a 3-minute round. Is how long it goes for. 1 3-minute round, and they'll put both roosters in there. And it can be pretty fucking dangerous because sometimes, like, the ring is just like 4 sheets of tin on its side. So it's probably a 10 by 10 foot square with like a 4 foot wall around it. Sometimes a rooster gets in there and doesn't want to fight, and will start running in a circle. If you're ever at a cockfight and the rooster gets in there and doesn't just start fighting and starts running in circles, you need to back the fuck up. Because that rooster is looking for a way out. And what that rooster is about to do, after it realizes it's got 4 walls around it, is fly. And when it comes flying out of there, dude, it's going to have that fucking blade on the front of it. And one of the places I was at, they told me a story a few months before that happened. And big, rooster came flying out. And there was a big Hawaiian guy. A big, like, 6'6" Hawaiian motherfucker. And the rooster got him. He's trying to get away. He turned around. The rooster hit him in the back of the leg. And they said, "You're right, you're right." And he goes, "Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm going to go home, blah, blah." And he took about 20 steps and then collapsed. Because he had lost so much blood. And they had to call an ambulance, take him to the hospital and shit. So, it's no joke, man. And like I said, I don't do it all the time now, but I just think it's part of our culture you should respect. And learning that kind of stuff. That's just something not a lot of guys have the opportunity to, and B are willing to. And those tournaments in Oahu for the big money. They'll put on 2 razor blades on each leg, and they'll use like 6-inch blades. And you bet on them. The bet on them, you just talk to the guy that's holding it. Whoever you just talk to, whoever's there. So like whatever shirt color the guy holding a rooster, that's how you say it. Be like, oh, $40. So like you hold up one finger is like 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. If you hold your finger sideways, that's in the hundreds. 100, 200, 300, 400. If you point your fingers down, that means thousands. And then anything over like 5,000, you got to go like talk to the guy personally. You can't just like do the hand gesture to each other. That's how they do it, like these giant tournaments. I was just doing like 20, 30, dollar bets. And it's real quiet when they do it. It's just very, very quiet. You just hear the whooshing of their wings. And sometimes it lasts 10 seconds. Sometimes it goes the whole 3 minutes. Sometimes they're just both a mess. And they just pick them up. And if they can both peck each other, it's a draw. If one just pecking the other one can't, then that one wins. I remember I bet like $30 on this one. And this thing was just getting its ass kicked the whole time. But at the very end, they held it up and it got one last peck in. after the 3 minutes, and it was a draw. I didn't lose my money. But that fucking rooster had so much damn heart. And there's different kinds of roosters. They're bred for this. There's kelsos, there's roundheads, pumpkins. Those are different types. Fighting roosters. There's so many wild fighting roosters. You could literally just grab them in our neighborhood and start fighting them. There's literally a beautiful pumpkin rooster walking around my yard. A lot of kids will still do it. You'll see them going around with a rooster, and what they're doing is they trap another rooster with it. So if you take a rooster and bring it, let's say you want to catch the rooster in my yard. You know, if I saw some kids out catching, I would tell them, hey, go get this one by my property. It's a really good one. You know, like 12, 13, 10-year-old kids, 8-year-olds, you'll see doing it out here on their bikes, going around with a rooster, looking for a rooster to catch because they want to train it, get some money. Sometimes guys will buy them from them, you know, the guys that raise them. If they know it looks like it's a good stock, I'll give you a couple bucks a kid, or the kid wants to train it himself. So what they do is these wild ones, you take, let's say you want to catch this one in my yard here. So you got to bring your rooster here. So you bring a rooster to this yard. Let's just make up names. There's a pumpkin. It's a type of roosters in my yard. So let's just call him Pumpkin. You want to catch Pumpkin. So you come in with a rooster, and you tie like dental floss to its foot, like a string, like 12 feet of it. Now you bring this new rooster to my yard and let him start. Just throw some food on the ground, let him relax, and he's gonna start crowing eventually. You know, saying, "Hey, I'm here. Who wants a piece?" That's literally what he's doing. Cock-a-doodle-doo. You know, I'm fucking here, motherfucker. And that rooster, Pumpkin, that lives here, he'll come right out of the bushes straight at him. Just because, what motherfucker is here trying to take my territory? And he'll start fighting. That string you tied to that rooster, they're going to get tangled up in that twine. So you get the dental floss is getting wrapped around Pumpkin and the other one. And that's how they catch them. Now you got another one. Now you got 2 roosters. So that's how they catch them. That's how they get them to come out of the bushes and shit. And dental floss, that's what they use to tie the blade on. I've seen guys, you know, they get paid just to tie that blade on. They sit there holding a rooster upside down and they just move the leg up and down, back and forth, seeing which way his leg goes straight, real slow. And they tie that blade on so it goes in just the right angle. They use about 15 feet of dental floss and wrap it around that blade. It's good to go. These roosters will get hit, bam, right in the middle of a fight, slice halfway up. Some of these guys are so good, they have a needle with thread. They'll pick that rooster up and stitch it like a football. About 10 seconds, throw it back in there and let it keep fighting. Give them steroids. Give these chickens literally, like, yeah, steroids and shit. Vitamins and, and the chicken's got to be about 3 years old so it's old enough to fight. I think they like about 3.5 pounds. About 3 years. That's when the feathers in the back is real, real long. That's when they're good to go, man. You train them by tossing them up in the air. You know, that lets them make their wings stronger. And you train them by putting them on like a rod for them to stand on, about as wide as that clothesline right there. And that strengthens their legs. They love standing on skinny shit like that, or perch. So you just put a perch like that near them, they'll jump up on it. You know, get their legs stronger. Lay them on their back. They jump up. Stuff like that. And sparring them with other roosters. That's how they get into it. I can never watch a dog fight. But if I was in a country that did that, I would, you know, hey, that's what they do here. You know what I'm saying? That's another way to be open-minded. But I know some people will be like, that's fucked up. And yeah, Maybe it is, you know. But a lot of you guys are gonna listen to this and say, "Wow, that's pretty fucking amazing. That's cool. You're talking about that." But it's just other cultures, man. Just how it is out here. That's why a lot of hippies get a bad rap out here. A lot of white people because they come out here and they just want it to be just like the mainland. Oh, we don't do it like that. Oh, we don't do it that. Well, now I'm a fucking mainland. You're talking about population, like 90%, whatever you want to call them, Polynesian, Indigenous, Hawaiian, Filipinos, Chamorros. You had these silly laws on the mainland, like be racist towards darker skinned people. For Hawaiians, that didn't make any sense. Okay, so that was just kind of shit they ignored that out here in Hawaii. All that shit about being mean to gays. Homosexuals are a part of the Hawaiian culture. They're called mahus. So they never did that shit here. Discriminated against mahus. So there's a lot of stuff, the mainland's been wrong about that they were right about here. So, sorry, just hit a pause. Her bag. Thinking about told the story other places, but I just want to go ahead and get sealed on my thing. I've done it on like other podcasts, but I want to get it because it's like one of the first stories people. It's like a go-to question if you go to a podcast and shit. It's like, "When's the first time you had sex?" Which can be hit or miss, man. Because I was doing a podcast in front of an audience, and they asked us that, and he asked the audience. He's like, "Oh, the first time, you know." And this guy raised his hand. It was like he was like 22, 23, you know, and he was like, "Oh, I lost my sex. First time I did it, I was like, he said like 10 or something." And we're like 10, and he's like, "Yeah." And we're like, "Who did you have sex with? Was it a 10-year-old?" He's like, "No, it was my babysitter, but it was a girl." We're like, "How old was she?" He was like, "Oh, she's like 24 or 34, something like that." And we're like, "No, dude, you weren't. You were molested. That wasn't sex." And he was like, "What?" Like, I'm not even kidding you. He wasn't even like. We were just looking at him like. It wasn't even like. It's funny now. At the moment, though, it wasn't funny. Like, all of us were like, "No, dude." And like, he really like was having the realization that the first time it was molested and it wasn't sex. We're like, "No, dude, that wasn't right." He was like, "No, no." It was like, we're like, "No, no, dude, that was, you're molested, man. You need to like." He's probably like talking to someone about that. And he was just like, "Oh, oh." And like he just sat down. We're just like, Jesus Christ. That happened to another time. A friend of mine. We were like drinking and bored, and sometimes you just hang out with people and you feel like you're the one that's got to keep everything going. So I was just like bored. I was like, I'm gonna just get this conversation going. And we've had some drink. When's the first time you? And this guy was like, "Oh, like first time I ever had sex." I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "I got raped by my uncle when I was like 12." I was like, ah, okay. Like that, if that is the first time you had sex, you don't gotta, like, you could, like, what I meant. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, but I did ask, but this is what I'm saying. Asking this question to people can not work out sometimes. So I'm just gonna tell this story on this because Well, it's a comedy story podcast, and I can't all just be talking about my friends dying in cockfights. So I was in Chattanooga, woo, and met a girl, and Weaver. You heard me talk about him. They were like dating. I don't even know. I don't think they had fucked. I don't think they had made out. I think they had made out or something. We were like in high school and shit. It didn't work out with them. So she wanted to like hang out with me or something. So I was like, cool. Weaver got chicks all the time, so he didn't give a shit. He was like, oh, good, go for it, dude. So I started dating this girl, and she was like a little goth chick. She used to like shop at Hot Topics. You know, all that Nightmare Before Christmas shit. And she was cute and nice, and we drive around together. We used to go to like we go to Chickamauga Battlefield and look for green eyes, which I guess they still do this there, but it's like just an excuse. It would be the equivalent of our like makeout point in Chattanooga, Tennessee. I've never really thought about it. It was kind of like our makeout point. It was like you and girl, you green eyes. Chickamauga Battlefield is this huge battlefield where a huge battle happened. All this insane. Like 40,000, 30,000 men died in like 2 days or some shit. Supposedly this dude got like, he was like a Yankee or Confederate soldier, got his fucking head blown off, and he had beautiful green eyes, and this soldier was still like with a cannonball that ripped him in half, would go around at night looking for his uh, well, he wasn't looking for shit. He just a dead Confederate soldier that had green eyes that you would see. I think that's the whole tale. It was just a Confederate soldier that had beautiful green eyes, got blown up, and now he was just a ghost. You would see him with his green eyes riding around at night. So the thing was, growing up in Chattanooga, is uh, you go look for green eyes, right? We're like, oh, we're gonna go out to the battlefield, look for green eyes. Wink, wink. You go out there, make out and shit. Um, Heavy petting is what me and her were doing. Um, and this girl, I've said her first name or made up. I made up a name. I'm not going to say her real name, but her made up name for this, I'm just going to go with Jill because it's a very common name. So Jill, like, oh man, when you're a kid, you know, like I remember this messed up. When you're a kid, you meet someone that lives with their grandparents, and you're like, that must be awesome. You live with their grandparents? Cool. But then you grow up and you're like, oh, that wasn't good. No kid lives with their grandparents because of good stuff. No one's ever like, you know what I'm saying? It's always because your dad's in jail, mom's in jail, drug addicts, whatever. So when I met this girl, her, she lived with her grandparents. you know, I never like met her parents or grandparents. I would just pull up, and you know how it was, and you just run outside. She would run outside, so I didn't have to meet them. And she, I was like, oh, she's this cool like goth chick. So she like takes me to go like she's like, hey, let's go like hang out with some of my friends. So I'm like, okay. So we like go by this house, and it's like a house. It's like obviously it was like a kid that lived with his mother because this kid could just do like whatever the fuck he wanted. Because it was like a house, but then there was like his room, and his room just like, looked like, something out of Gummo or something, or like it just spray paint on the walls and shit. Like he literally turned his room into like a mini punk house, and we were hanging out with these like 4 or 5 guys, like smoking weed, and then they like start making this is like when I start getting clues about Jill. They start making jokes about like this tape that supposedly Jill's on. Supposedly she got like drunk and was like wrestling another girl, and their tops may have came off while they were wrestling, and she's like whatever, shut up guys. So, but then I'm just kind of like, okay, cool. She's kind of sounds like slut at parties. Hell yeah, like nothing wrong with that. Kind of wrestling with a chick and your tops come off. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. You know. Then I, I'm hanging out with her more. Then she takes me and she's like, "Oh, I got these like other friends we can hang out with." And then these guys were like, 3, 4 guys. I think we're just because back then you're just hanging out with people all the time, just smoking weed. So I'm like, okay, we're over there smoking weed. These guys was like, there was 3 or 4 or 5 of them, and they're like in their mid-20s, right? And I'm just like, we never smoke any weed though. We're just like sitting there with these other guys, and no one's smoking weed. We're just like sitting there. But I remember they were just like giggling. They were acting super high. Their eyes were kind of fucked up, and they're kind of like smiling. So I just figured, oh, they just like smoked, and now they're just like, you know, well, we're not gonna smoke again. You know what I'm saying? Like, well, because you can't just be smoking up everyone. So it's like I got it. I was like, okay, they don't want to smoke up these strangers. So we hung out for a little bit and left. And then like after we left, Jill was like, "Did you not see what they were doing?" And I'm like, What are you talking about?" She's like, "You didn't. They were all on heroin. You didn't realize that?" And I was like, "What do you mean they're all on heroin?" She's like, "Yeah, dude. They were going up one at a time, going to the bathroom to shoot up." And I was like, oh, "No." Like I said, I'm like 15 or 16. You know what I'm saying? Like, just trying to smoke some weed here. It's like, like she's hanging out with people like shooting up heroin. Like, what are you, Kurt Cobain? Like, what is this? Black tar heroin? Like, what the fuck, dude? Like, we are kids. Like, you know what I'm saying? We are fucking children. All right, I'm fucking chill here. So, but still, I'm a virgin at this point in my life. I got back from the group home, so I'm like, okay, whatever. She's chick probably does heroin. So I was talking to Weaver. I'm like, man, I was hanging out with Jill. She took me by his place, and they're all. He's like, did he take you by that punk house with her other friends? I was like, yeah. He's like, dude, those guys are shooting heroin. I was like, oh my god, are you talking about the guys that live downtown? The like guys in their 20s? He's like, no, I'm talking about those guys in that punk house. I was like, they shoot heroin too? He's like, dude, I went over to hang out with her, before you were dating her, and we got together, thought we were smoking a joint, and they took out a syringe of heroin, and all of them, like instead of passing a bowl around, injected this needle, one needle into their arm. Like, hey, Mike, your turn. Hey, went in a full circle. He said he was the very last person, and Jill was next to last. It got to Jill, and she was like, "Yay, my turn!" Went to like shove it in her arm. Looked at Weaver. Weaver said he was looking at her like, "What the fuck, bitch?" And then she was like, I mean, I'm good," and passed the needle. And Weaver, I don't even think touched it. It went back to the first person. I was like, Jesus Christ. I was like, this broad's wild. I might get laid. Like, this is what I'm saying. This is my thought as a kid. But I was just like, oh, I definitely should like have a condom on though, because this bitch is gonna give me something. So one night we go to her. This bitch had a lot of friends. uh, she goes. We go to a friend's of hers house. Another person, and this person they lived on their own. It was this gay dude, but he was super cool. We went by there, and we were just like hanging out smoking weed, and then he was just like, "Oh my god, look at this! I got a phone call. I have to go till tomorrow. You guys can sleep on my bed. Goodbye." Like he literally just hooked her up with a place to fuck. Like this guy was so cool. They were just like, okay, like just I'm letting you know I'm leaving for the night. Jill knows, all this. Goodbye. And we're kids, so it's like, holy shit, we got like a house, no, adult room, hell yeah. So I'm like, this is it. Like, I'm gonna lose the V card. And it was, I remember watching, you never forget your first time. I still remember it. We were drinking vodka and orange juice. We actually had some booze, which is insane. We're high schoolers. So we're drinking screwdrivers and watching Live in Pompeii by Pink Floyd. And we're like, holy shit. Like, we're smoking a little weed. This is it, man. This is gonna happen. We're sitting there on the couch and shit. And she starts, uh, like, I'm doing my pants. I'm like, oh my god, dude. And she unzips my pants, pulls them down. We're both on the couch. I'm like, dude, she's gonna start blowing me. And then she just starts throwing up everywhere. She starts throwing up all over my crotch, everywhere. Just hot orange juice and vodka. At first, I just heard the gagging sound. And I was just like, what? And then I felt it, the hot, wet. And then she just kept retching. I remember I just grabbed her by their hair and I just pulled her head up and I was like, what the fuck? I'll never forget. I'm sure it wasn't the most responsible way to, romance, but Jesus Christ, I was a kid. You talk about from 90 to 0. And then she's all like, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. And I'm just like, holy shit, man. And I like jump in the shower, throw my clothes in the washing machine, and I'm just like, holy shit. I mean, we were drunk, so the clothes never got washed. Like we would forget to start the washer, and then we started the washer, and like an hour later, then forgot to put it in the dryer, and then like an hour after that, put it in the dryer, but forgot to start the dryer. So like my clothes never got washed. So just in the bed, she like brushes her teeth or something. I don't even know. Like she just went in the bathroom or something, just grabbed his toothpaste and rubbed her mouth. Probably. I don't even know, man. I was just in the house, literally screaming. And then after I settled down, she threw my clothes in the washer. We like got in bed, and then I was still like, okay, I'm still gonna fuck her, like, you know, still gonna fuck her. And then she had the balls to be like, you know, girls like to get like, warmed up. And I was like, what do you mean like warmed up? Well, she she started dropping hints that she wanted me to go down on her. And I was like, dude, I remember I was like, no fucking way, and just rolled over. I was like, bitch, I probably would have before you threw up all over me, but like, you just threw up all over me, and you have the balls to be like, hey, can you go down on me? Like, Jesus Christ, dude. Even as a virgin 17-year-old, is like, dude, fuck you. Like, I have rights. And I had never got on a chick. I was like 17. I was like, oh, fuck, I'm just trying to get my dick wet. You're gonna fucking go down on you for it? You're insane. I'm not putting that on my mouth. Like, I'm afraid to stick my dick in there because of the diseases. I didn't say all that. I was just like, no. And I just rolled over and went to sleep. Well, that was pretty much it between me and her. Chicks don't especially seven. That was probably the first time a guy had been like, "No, you disgusting bitch." So she probably didn't handle it that well. So yeah, I woke up the next morning. My clothes were still wet, just covered in barf. I remember I was like, "Fuck it, I just want to go home." still living with my parents. This was in high school, and I remember all I found was a Georgia Bulldogs towel, and wrapped that around my naked ass. I'm just no shirt, just wearing a fucking Georgia Bulldogs towel, and I get in my '88 Delta Oldsmobile, the one with the windows didn't work, the one I threw up in going to work at KFC. Later on would that year, and I just drove home. And I was like, my parents, I didn't even know. I didn't know what excuse I was gonna tell them when I got home about where all my clothes were. I was just gonna be like, yeah, I don't know. I threw up on them or shit myself. I didn't even care. I was just driving on a towel. I was like, I'll improvise something when they start yelling at me. Because chances are they're gonna yell at me no matter what. So I pulled up, and thank God everyone was gone. Everyone was gone out of my house. I don't know where the fuck they were. They probably had Jesus stuck in his dick, church, something. And I was like, holy shit. I just ran in the house in the bath towel real fast and got some clothes on shit for anyone in my family saw. So that was great. Uh, Fucking Christ, got away with that. And the story with Jill is not in there. Um, we were hanging out after that, and of course, it did not go well because I rejected her sexually after she threw up on me. So we were hanging out. We dates, whatever the fuck it. I guess it was. Yeah, we were dates. We were driving around doing shit. She tells me one day that she cheated on me. So like 2 weeks after that, maybe. She's like, I fucked someone, and I was like, how dare you? I remember like screaming at her in the car, and she was like, I'm so sorry. And I remember just screaming at her because I was like, that's what you do when someone cheats on you, right? Like I've seen it on TV. When someone cheats on you, you scream at them. So I screamed at her for like 10 seconds. And then I was like, dude, like it just hit me. I was like, I don't even like this bitch. Like I didn't even want to fuck. I had the chance to fuck her. She grossed me out so much. I don't want to fuck her now. Why am I screaming at her for? So after just like 10 seconds, I was just like, I'm okay. And she's like, really? And I was just like, yeah, we're not gonna be together anyway, so it's fine. It was just like breakup. She's like, okay, like just right there, like the most mature breakup. I mean, I guess it wasn't really a breakup because we were kids, but when you're kids, it mattered. But the best breakup ever. So like, okay. So we were just riding the car, just listening to music. And after like 5 minutes, she was like, well, the guy I fucked, he's got a blunt. He wants to smoke it. Like, do you want to go smoke with him? And I was like, okay. Like I said, I didn't care. I really didn't care. So I was like, sure. So we just drive to this guy's house. He doesn't know. But like I said, we gives a shit. We're kids. It's not like you're actually together. But we just smoked a blunt. Of course, he was someone in his late 20s. He was a tattoo artist. And she said he did heroin. It's like, what a cool guy. A guy fucking a minor that does heroin. How can you lose? And like meeting this guy, smoking a blunt with him. Like I said, he was an alright guy. We smoked a blunt, but it was just like, you know, best of luck to you, Jill. Best of luck. Well, it doesn't end there either. So that was the last time I saw Jill for a couple of years. Then Jill dates. I had a friend, a girl I knew in high school that dated a crusty guy, gutter punk that was like in his late 20s. They broke up, as they should have. But this crazy, crusty guy started dating Jill. And I saw her around him. So it was like my kind of girl I dated, and this girl I knew from high school's boyfriend she kind of dated. Our exes were kind of together now. So it was this gutter punk guy. You know the ones. Sit around change, don't do work. Sit around town, got bad face tattoos. Go, you got some change? And you're like, no, dude. And you're like, fuck you, man. I'll whoop your ass. And you're like, you couldn't, you wouldn't, you're a piece of shit. Not bums, like kids that are just assholes. Gutter punks, crusties. Not all gutter punks and crusties are assholes, but they're definitely a rough crew. So that's it. For so they're dating, do their thing. Jill and this crusty guy. Then one day, Weaver calls me. Is like, I need you to come by my house and watch someone. It's like he calls me over his apartment. I'm like, what do you mean watch someone? Like, you don't even have any kids. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? He goes, Jill is over here. I'm like, what? He's like, you remember that crazy bitch we dated, Jill? I'm like, yeah, that crazy bitch from what the we were like in our early 20s at this point. We are like 22. This was right before I left for Seattle. So I was like 20. I hadn't seen her like 2 or 3 years. I was like, what the what is she doing here? He's like, it was some sort of drug deal. But he had to go get the drugs, but he did not trust leaving Jill and this crusty dude in his place alone. So he called me over to watch him. This is the only time he'd ever done that. So they just think I'm hanging out. So when I walked in, I was like, "Oh, hey, Jill. Hi, insane crusty guy. I don't remember your name. Guy that should be in jail for fucking a minor. How you doing?" And Weaver leaves. They're just obviously really fucked up, like just insane, like literally trying to act like they're like Sid and Nancy. And then they just like, I remember she like went to the bathroom and just like looked at him, and he went in the bathroom, and they just started fucking in there. It's like 3 or 4 in the afternoon, dude, and I'm just like sitting in the den, and it's just I can hear like the rocking, feel the rocking, and they're just fucking in a bathroom like 10 feet from me. It's like some you'd see in a porno or something. They had the door shut, but still, it's like what the fuck, like. You know what I'm saying? If I wasn't there to watch their place for my friend, I would have just left. But and they came out and they're trying to act like, we weren't just fucking in there. It was just like it was just me out there. It wasn't like we were at a party where you could sneak off and do this kind of shit. It's like 2 in the afternoon. And, you know what I'm saying? We were talking. You walk in there. I hear rocking, feel rocking, hear noises. You both coming out like sweaty, like ugh. And like 30 minutes later, they went in there again. Dude, I had a babysitter for like 5 or 6 hours. They did this like 2 or 3 times. And like when Weaver got back, it was like 10 or 11 o'clock at night. And I was like, dude, they're like fucking in the bathroom. And he was like, are they still doing that? He's like, dude, they did that like twice before I left. He's like, I don't know if the guy can't come or they're on meth or something, but what the fuck? So he finally got them their shit. It was probably some pills or something. They got the fuck out of there. So I'm like, oh my God. That's the last I'll ever see of Jill. That was the last I saw of her, not the last I heard from her. The last story of her. So that happened. Jill with this crusty guy. And I told you about my friend from high school. Her name was Holly, that dated the crusty guy, right? Or exes. That was the girl from high school, right? I told you her ex was dating her now. So for some reason, Jill hated Holly because they like used to date, right? Her boyfriend. Who gives a shit? But she like hated Holly. So Holly tells me the whole story. She's at a stoplight. This is after I babysit Jill and that guy at Weaver's place. Like 6 months later, Holly's like, dude, I saw Jill. I was like, really? She's like, yeah. And I was like, where'd you see her at? And she's like, dude, I'm at the stoplight. Okay? I'm at a stoplight waiting for the light to change. I look over and there's some train tracks. And there's like a train that's about to take off. I look over because I hear someone yelling at me, right? Stoplight, yelling. I look over and it's Jill and her boyfriend. And Jill is just screaming at me. She's like, I hate you, bitch. I'm going to fuck you up. Blah, blah, blah. And Holly just said she's just like sitting at the stoplight, just trying to look forward at the light. Like, okay, there's Jill. I guess she hates me now. Um, she wasn't even really aware she hated her, but I guess she did. So she says she's just standing at the stoplight trying to ignore her. And she looks over at Jill because, while she's screaming at her. And she said she looked even more homeless than usual, but she was wearing these pants that had a giant rip in the front. She said you could see her entire vagina. She didn't have any panties on. She's wearing like black pants with a rip that's like 8 to 12 inches across the front of it, and you can just see her fucking pussy. And Holly's just like, Jesus Christ, like looking at her. She's dirty, disgusting, and a giant hole in her pants, her pussy's hanging out. So Holly's just looking at her like, wow, Jesus Christ, like Jill's gone downhill fast. You know, like I want to fight that. Like I want to get any of that on me. Like Jesus Christ, I just want to get through this stoplight and never see this person again. So I know it's a lot to explain, but so as Jill is screaming at Holly, this giant black woman is in a different car and looks over at Jill and goes, "Bitch, why don't you shut the fuck up and get your nasty pussy out of here? Because no one wants to see your fucking pussy. Go put some pants on, you nasty fucking bitch." Something along those lines. Jill yells back at this giant black woman, "Bitch, shut the fuck up." Blah, 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 blah. Giant black woman goes, "Bitch, you don't know." She just puts the car in park. This giant, Holly still says she's just seeing this at the stoplight. This giant black woman gets out and is like, "Bitch, who the fuck do you think you're talking to?" And just beats the dog shit out of Jill. Just grabs her by one hand and just starts ragdolling her. Just punching her in the face, throwing her all over the place. Just, "Bitch, you don't, bitch." Just kicking the shit out of her. Holly's just sitting in the car watching all this. The fucking boyfriend tries to do something. The woman backhands him. He cowers like a little bitch. This woman just beats the shit out of Jill. Just kicks the shit out of her like a solid minute. Then just gets in her car. Right? This black woman just kicked the shit out of Jill. Then just gets in her car. And then Holly's still just sitting at this light. She said this whole thing happened in like 2 minutes. And as she's sitting at the light, Jill gets up. She's got her ass kicked. She's bleeding. She's all scuffed up, even grosser looking now. Pants in her. She said now the hole in her pants is just, now her pants are just ripped in half now. And she gets up. She's crying. And she's like, "Fuck you. Fuck you guys. Fuck you, Holly. Fuck you, bitch. Fuck you." And she gets on the train, and the train literally starts pulling off. Like she throws her bag on there. Her crusty boyfriend throws her bag on there, and they get on the train, and the train starts going. And then Holly said the light changed, and she was like, "What in the fuck?" And she came home immediately and told us the whole story. And that was the last I ever heard of Jill. Jill, wherever you are, you crazy fucking bitch. I know you probably didn't have the easiest childhood, but dear God, wherever the fuck you are, I hope it got better for you. God damn. Or at least learn to not throw up on guys' crotches, or at least get paid for that if you're gonna do it. And keep that pussy covered up when you're hopping on trains. All right, y'all. Have a good one.